Jean-Luc Picard's Star Trek rivalry with the Borg Queen explained the Borg Queen, Alice Craig, Annie Wershing, was arguably the most formidable Star Trek villain Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, ever faced. Although the Borg Queen did not make her debut until Star Trek: First Contact, the Borg established themselves as dangerous enemies of the United Federation of Planets in Star Trek: The Next Generation. The Borg were organized as a hive-minded collective of beings assimilated from various species across the galaxy. The Borg Queen was the undisputed ruler of the collective, with her main goal to assimilate as many civilizations and technologies as possible. The omnipotent troublemaker known as Q, John D. Lanky, first introduced the Federation to the Borg in Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 16, Q Who. When Q sent the USS Enterprise D flying across the galaxy, Captain Picard's crew encountered a Borg cube for the first time. Star Trek: The Next Generation's characters quickly realized there was little they could do to combat this new enemy, and they warned the Federation upon their return. Q's intention had been to show Picard how unprepared Starfleet was for the threats that lay in wait for them, and the rest of the Federation would soon learn this truth the hard way. Over a season after Q introduced the USS Enterprise D to the Borg, the cybernetic drones returned in full force in the Star Trek: The Next Generation two-parter, The Best of Both Worlds. The Borg kidnapped Captain Picard and assimilated him, turning him into their mouthpiece, Locutus. The Borg planned to assimilate Earth and thought having a human intermediary would make the process more efficient. The Borg Queen personally oversaw Picard's assimilation, although this was not revealed until Star Trek: First Contact. As the only individual in a sea of hive-minded drones, the Borg Queen had grown lonely and wanted to create an equal in Locutus. Locutus was originally intended to be an intelligent counterpart for the Queen, but Picard continually resisted her attempts to assimilate him, forcing her to turn him into a mindless drone. Picard's assimilation also allowed the Borg to access everything the Enterprise captain knew about Starfleet and the Federation. With this knowledge, the Borg had a tactical advantage at the Battle of Wolf 359, which proved devastating for Starfleet. Commander Will Riker, Jonathan Frakes, and the Enterprise crew eventually managed to rescue Picard, and they used his link to the collective to destroy the Borg cube approaching Earth. When the USS Enterprise returned to Earth to aid Starfleet in a battle against the Borg in Star Trek: First Contact, Captain Picard and his crew followed a Borg sphere back in time to prevent them from altering the past. When the Enterprise arrived in the 21st century, the crew discovered that Dr. Zephram Cochrane, James Cromwell, was preparing to launch his first warp flight on April 5, 2063. This historic event would lead to first contact with the Vulcans, which ushered Earth into a new era of exploration. The Borg intended to assimilate a defenseless Earth in the past, and Picard and his crew resolved to stop them. As Picard led a team to fight off the Borg, LT Commander Data, Brent Spiner, was captured. The Borg Queen tried to convert Data to her cause, while Picard mounted a rescue attempt. Picard came face to face with the Borg Queen as she taunted him that she had gotten Data to join her side. In the end, Data deceived her and prevented her attack from being successful. Data and Picard then destroyed what they could of the Borg Queen, preserving the proper timeline and crippling the Borg collective in the Alpha Quadrant. In the vast lore of Star Trek, few rivalries are as compelling and personal as the one between Jean-Luc Picard and the Borg Queen. Their conflict transcends mere tactical battles and delves deep into the themes of individuality, resistance, and identity, capturing the essence of what Star Trek represents: the struggle between freedom and domination, humanity and machine. At the heart of this clash is one of the most philosophical questions posed by the franchise: what does it mean to be human? Origins of the conflict: Jean-Luc Picard, captain of the USS Enterprise, first encounters the Borg in the Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, Q Who? 1989. The Borg, a collective of cybernetic beings, travel the galaxy in a relentless quest to assimilate other species into their hive mind, erasing individuality and free will. Picard's crew, and indeed the entire Federation, were caught off guard by the sheer power and ruthless efficiency of the Borg. But the rivalry between Picard and the Borg reached its defining moment in the two-part episode The Best of Both Worlds, 1990. Picard is captured by the Borg and assimilated, becoming Locutus of Borg. As Locutus, he serves as a spokesperson for the collective, embodying the horrific fate that awaits any who fall into their grasp. For Picard, this experience is more than just physical enslavement. It is an invasion of his mind and identity. He retains the memories of his time as Locutus, haunted by the lives lost due to his unwilling role in the Borg's actions. Enter the Borg Queen. The introduction of the Borg Queen in Star Trek First Contact, 1996, added a new, chilling dimension to Picard's rivalry with the Borg. The Queen represents the central consciousness of the Borg, embodying their control and manipulation in a singular entity. She is both the voice and the will of the collective, giving the Borg a terrifying face for the first time. In her interactions with Picard, she reveals a personal agenda, not just to assimilate humanity, but to break Picard as an individual. The Queen's allure lies in her philosophical challenge to Picard. She attempts to seduce him, not in a physical sense, but by tempting him with the power and peace offered by the Borg's unity. In her eyes, individuality is an illusion, a weakness to be discarded for the perfection of the collective. The Queen embodies a warped version of leadership, one that contrasts sharply with Picard's ideals. Where Picard champions diversity, freedom, and moral autonomy, the Borg Queen values conformity, control, and the eradication of personal will. The psychological battle Picard's personal vendetta against the Borg Queen isn't just a tactical one, it's deeply psychological. His experience as Locutus left him with trauma, shame, and unresolved anger. In First Contact, he is determined to destroy the Borg at all costs, seeing them as a manifestation of his worst failure. He even likens his mission to that of Captain Ahab chasing Moby Dick, recognizing that his obsession could lead to his own destruction. The Borg Queen, meanwhile, understands this weakness in Picard and seeks to exploit it. She taunts him with the memory of his assimilation, offering him a chance to rejoin the collective and end his pain. This psychological warfare becomes central to their rivalry. Picard sees in the Borg Queen everything that is antithetical to his values. She represents the total loss of self, the erasure of the very things that make him human. His resistance to her is not just about defeating an enemy, but about preserving his identity. The Queen, on the other hand, views Picard as a challenge, a prize to be reclaimed for the collective. She doesn't just want to assimilate him. She wants him to choose to return, to admit that her vision of perfection is superior to his ideals of freedom. Data's role in First Contact, the Queen's interactions with Picard, are mirrored in her manipulation of Lieutenant Commander Data. She tries to seduce Data into becoming more human, offering him real skin and the experiences of sensory pleasure. The Borg Queen, in her twisted logic, believes that by giving Data a taste of humanity, she can control him and ultimately, through him, Picard. Data, like Picard, is caught in the crossfire of this philosophical war. His struggle to balance his programmed logic with his desire to understand humanity parallels Picard's fight to hold on to his individuality. In the end, both Picard and Data reject the Queen's vision of perfection. For Data, the temptation to embrace physical sensation is strong, but he recognizes that true humanity lies in choice and autonomy, not in sensation or conformity. Picard, too, confronts his trauma and anger, realizing that giving in to his hatred of the Borg would mean losing the very humanity he seeks to protect. The legacy of the rivalry between Picard and the Borg Queen continues to resonate throughout Star Trek's extended universe, most notably in the series Star Trek